Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy and I bring you scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel, mostly project life these days. And for some reason I'm designing in my album today. I'm not sure why this is. I'm narrating in August and this was scrapbooked in May or June actually, and I have no idea why I started this way, but I do have an idea for this one. I show you that I'm kind of drawing my finger in semicircles around my face. That's actually a photo that I took by accident, and I thought I'd play around with it and maybe have some fun with another idea that didn't really need a photo, but since I had an accidental photo of myself, I would do that. So stay tuned if you'd like to see how that works, and very quickly I'm going to move my work over onto my templates that I usually use. Again, I have no idea why I started this way. So here we are back over on my templates. And I have a few other photos laid out there. And so what I'm basically documenting this week, I have way fewer photos because this is the week that included May 18th to 24th, which was my week in the life, which I documented separately in another album in a whole lot of detail. So I don't have a whole lot to include in my second half of May, but I had enough to still warrant a spread. And I also decided that it might be nice to include some things that I haven't been including lately. So one of the things that I've been wanting to include is an update to my office at Sunnyside. And so I have a few photos from that, which didn't necessarily take place in that time frame, but it might have, I can't remember. But these are the sorts of things that I always put off, and I think, oh, pictures of my office. If I run out of space, that's the thing that I usually bump. Also, I included a photo of my cat, which oftentimes my cat photos get bumped because I just have so many of them. I am using the May Week in the Life kit, and I really love using this kit because it has all of these repeating elements and it really helps your page look super pulled together. I'm really pleased with it. I've never been so happy with a kit. Actually, I really love this kit. So as you can see, I'm laying out everything, and I think at this point I might be thinking that all of this can probably live on one half page, and then I can do something else with the other half of the page. But at some point I'm going to wisen up and realize that I actually have enough to fill a whole spread, because I also want to mention that I will be doing Week in the Life, and that you can go and look in that project for a more detailed look at this week. So anyhow, let's just get on with this process. At this point, I'm thinking I'm going to have lots of flips. I'm going to just get started and then we'll see how this goes. I've got this little tag that said love this, but I wanted to just make it be a little rounded corner square that says love this. So I put that there. I'm going to place it so it's right between her hands, so it looks almost like she's holding it or reaching out towards it. I have a photo there of our freezer, which my daughter organized for us. And so I wanted to take a picture of it all nice and tidy. And I'm just showing, I think a Patreon had a question about the differences in the trimmers. So I'm just talking about the differences in those two trimmers. I like to use the Fiskars one, even though I very much prefer the Creative Memories one. I like the Fiskars one because it's light and easy to store as a video maker. If I didn't make videos, I would definitely prefer the Creative Memories one. It's just a little heavier and it's bulkier, so hard. It doesn't fit in the little place where I put it. So I do have an idea for this Remember This card. So I'm measuring the space. I would like a photo that fits perfectly in the white space below the line and the title there. So I'm measuring it and double checking it and printing up a photo to fit right there. This is where I'm going to put the photo that documents the fact that I'm doing Week in the Life this week. So that was sent to my printer, and now I just need to cut it down. I'm leaving the little white border edges on it, although you're not really going to see it because it's going to be white on white. So I'm putting this here, and I think my initial thought was that I could put some journaling somewhere on this card to say, P.S. I did Week in the Life this week. But the more I look at that card, the more I really like it just the way it is without anything added. I'm going to add this May Joys to my page, to the cat photo, but I'm covering up the word May and putting that little black thing that says this is May, and I like that. It adds just more interest than just having the plain circle on there. So I'm just familiarizing myself with what other embellishments I might want to use this week. I'm going to try to use up a whole bunch of these because the June kit is coming soon and I'm going to want to use that too. So it's at this point that I decide I think I'm going to actually make this into a double page spread. And I'm also starting to think that I might want to have that accidental photo of myself, have it be on a 3x4 instead of a 4x6. It's awfully big for an accidental photo. And it's really just having an idea that I had when I looked at it. So I have this other idea of using the 3 things as an embellishment that's going to go with some journaling. And at this point, I'm just spreading everything out because I have a lot more room now. So this is how this is going to look. I have one more spot here. So I printed up some photos from my garden, I believe. No, that's photos of plants. I added some plants to my living room. Actually, those plants were already in my house. I just kind of consolidated them. They were all spread out, and I put them on a little plant stand. That way they can all get good light and not be leaning off and reaching from all the different places in my living room. So I'm really struggling with what to put in this pocket right here, and I'm going to end up printing up a new photo because at first I was being cautious with my photos, thinking I'd want to fit onto one spread, but now that I can fit across 2 pages, it's a lot easier to just add another photo. So you see it right there. It's the photo of the lilac. And this is my idea for this photo. I'm kind of explaining it to the people who are on the live stream, but the gist of it, because they get a big long explanation because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. But now that I've done it, I know how it's going to work. I want to do some journaling around the edges of this photo that make almost like a rainbow arch. And as I said, I changed it to 3x4 instead of 4x6 because I didn't want it to take up so much space. Basically, I printed 2 because I wanted to practice, and I want to practice, so I'm also going to put some vellum over top of it just so that I can figure out how the spacing is going to go with the journaling that I have. I have the journaling already written out on that card in green ink that you can see over to the left beside my iPad. So while I had that piece of vellum and I was cutting it, I decided to just cut a whole stack of 3x4 inch vellum because that's handy to have for various things. So I am writing with a waterproof pen here, so because it's vellum. And what I'm doing here, I think I'm using a waterproof pen. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just using my Sharpie pen. Don't quote me on the pen I'm using because I can't quite tell. Looks like my Sharpie pen, actually. I'm actually writing this journaling backwards, word by word, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, which is why I needed to practice. I also don't know how much space I'm going to need until I do this at least once. So I'm just taking each word and writing it. And the first one is going to look pretty... Actually, you know what? The first one looks the best, and I kind of wish that I didn't practice. But of course, who knows how it would have looked. And I mean, I've got an extra photo there anyways. So I did run out of space there, but I think that might be one of the best ones. So I've decided now that I know how the spacing needs to go, I'm going to write it on this one. And now I kind of can follow the first one to decide how I'm going to lay out everything. And I can't remember if this one ends up being the one that I keep or if I end up printing out a third photo and doing the journaling on it. But I do really like how this goes. I'll read you what it says anyways. It says an accidental photo becomes a chance to see myself from an unfamiliar angle. Maybe growth isn't becoming someone new. Maybe it's seeing the person who was already here from a different perspective. And that just kind of ties into some of my personal journaling that I had been doing. Yeah, so look, it turns out I did write it a third time. It just connects to some journaling I was doing in my personal journal that doesn't end up in Project Life. But this photo just kind of sparked that idea that I was already thinking about in another place and allowed me to include this idea here as well. So you get the gist of this. I'm actually going to cut out a good portion of this video so you don't have to watch me bumble around with it. There's nothing to be learned here. So now it's all done. I have to decide which way it's going to face, and I decided to go that way. Don't you just love a photo of your nostrils when that accidentally happens? So now, as you can see, I've got lots of space on this page now that I spread it across too. So let's work on these photos, which I was thinking I might have a before and after stamp set, but it turns out I don't. I have then and now, but I don't have before and after. So I'm going to do something different. I have these white letter stickers. I also have them in black, but I didn't have enough of the black ones. And also I kind of felt like I wanted it to have a light look. I decided to go with the white stickers, even though they're not going to be super, super legible. I am writing out the word before and after and finding the center. And then I'm just going to slap these stickers right on the center part of this. So I started with the T in after, and then I'm adding my little T square so that I can get it lined up properly. Once I place one letter, I'm just going to place the other ones around it. So we've got the ER and then the F and the A. And as you can see, it's not super legible. It's certainly not bold. If I wanted it to be bolder, I could outline it in black, but I actually like the subtle look of it. Now I'm placing I think I'm placing the F in before, the F and the O. And then I'll add the RE and the EB. Just lining those up with the T-square. These are Ali Edwards letter stickers that came in one of her basics kits. Her basics kits are the quarterly kit. It comes every 3 months, and it's just a little kit of extra embellishments. It usually coordinates quite nicely with the upcoming Stories by the Month kit. Not perfectly, but it's just a nice little selection of extras to have on hand. I find that between the Stories by the Month kit and the basics kits, I end up with so much stuff that I have already canceled my basics kit because I find that I just don't need it. It's accumulating, so obviously that's a sign that I'm not using it all. I am taking this card with the 1, 2, 3 on it, and I'm using my journaling template here to put some lines beside each of those numbers so that I can do some journaling. I've got 3 stories to tell here, and I'm actually not going to label them. Sometimes if I have 3 stories, I'll put a little 1, a 2, and a 3 on the photos that it goes with, but I'm not sure that these necessarily have photos. So 1 says, I've always liked my Sunnyside office, but since Sarah and Anita changed theirs, I thought mine could look more open if I moved some furniture around. So yeah, even though I was happy with it, their offices look way more open once they moved things. So I thought, I kind of like that. So I moved it. I love my new arrangement. I'm so glad I did it. Then 2, Scott surprised me by moving the furniture one day while I was working from home. I came in on Thursday and everything was moved. And then 3, after getting some new plants and things from IKEA, the room feels much more open, but still cozy, as you can see from the after photo on the outside of this flip. I basically wanted to include 2 of the after photos. One of them shows the books and stuff on the shelf and the other one doesn't. So they're slightly different. They look like they're almost the same photo, but they are slightly different. I had to erase those lines, and now I'm going to make this into a flip. I'm going to put a little label sticker here. This is from, I believe it's from the Stories by the Month kit this month. It says, "This is how it looks when Scott moved the furniture, but before the IKEA trip." Yeah, that's right. So I hadn't set up my book. Yeah, that's right. Now I know why I did that. So I have one of my hinges. These hinges are things that I bought, that I made ahead of time. They are a piece of white cardstock that's cut to 2 by 6 and scored down the center. And I'm just thinking about what I might want to use for a tab, and I end up going with one of my craft tabs that I pre-cut back when I made the hinges. I also cut with punches a whole bunch of tabs as well. I have an open stamp that I'm going to stamp on the tab, just because I like to indicate that this is an interactive element in case somebody really timid is looking at my pages and doesn't want to move anything. It's clear that this one is meant to be moved. I almost put it on the wrong one. Oh, I did put it on the wrong one. That's not actually going to go there. So let's peel that off very carefully. This is where I want that to go, on the outside. Don't want to put the tab on the inside. It won't fit in the pocket, right? So this is the way that these hinges work. If you've seen my Project Life process videos before, you know how this works, but I do like to use some score tape on the flap that is on the outside. So I just put some score tape there. That's because this is the part that will get handled the most and that isn't inside of a pocket. So I definitely don't want this to let go. Using score tape there is just stronger than using my regular ATG. Then I grab a magnet. I use a glue dot to stick the magnet to one of the cards. Now this card is going to get sandwiched so that that magnet is between the 2 of them. And I'm just adhering that card so that it's just above the crease in the hinge. If it's in the crease of the hinge, it will buckle and not lay flat. And this one goes below the crease in the hinge. And as long as you've placed it well, it should close really clean and flat. Now I'm adding my second magnet that will keep this closed when it's not being looked at. And just playing around with it because I like how it looks. It's very satisfying to hear it click shut. Next, I'm going to work on this bottom card in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm just looking at how everything looks together before I do that. I love the combination of the reds and purples here. This beautiful lavender color for the card I have my hand on, and then it also is in the other. There's just lots of pretty purple in this kit, so I'm really pleased with it. And it happens that I have lilac in my garden, and so I have a nice photo that picks up on that color as well. So because I've been spending more time in the garden and on houseplants, I wanted to capture that in a card, and I have this Plant Person stamp set from Paper Person. It's a layering stamp, so it has the outline of the shape, and then it also has the solid part of the plant. So I'm going to stamp the outline of the plant, and then I'm going to find another color of ink, and I'm matching it up with some of the other colors that are in the kit. So I have that bunch of labels there, and here's the leaf stamp. It's just a solid leaf, and I find that if I double stamp it, so I use second generation stamping, I inked it up with that color, and then I inked it off on the back of it and then flipped it around and and stamped without re-inking it, the second generation of ink right there. And that picks up on the teal color that is elsewhere in the kit. Although I'm not sure that, yeah, it does show up a few different places on this page in tiny, tiny amounts. I went over to my coloring equipment. I went over to my coloring supplies and grabbed my Ohuhu markers, my Ohuhu coloring markers. They're alcohol. And I just wanted to color in the little plant pot. I colored it in. I just used 2 layers on one side of it, so it looked a little tiny bit shaded, but I didn't want to do anything super fancy or anything. So now this little journaling card has a little plant on it, and I'm going to journal. It says, I've been spending more time in the garden and with my houseplants. And that's it. That's the journaling. But anyone who knows me knows that I am not really great at gardening. So the idea of just kind of taking it seriously and trying to actually get better at taking care of my plants is something that I've been working on. It doesn't come naturally to me, but I'm working on it. I have this stamp that says Lively and Luscious. It's from the same set by Paper Person. I'm going to stamp it because I want it to be in the bottom corner of that lilac. I have decided to stamp it onto white cardstock and then cut it out and mount it to on the photo. And now I am just going to use my Sharpie pen here to spell out lilac, but I want the word lilac to span the entire width of the word luscious. So you saw what I did there. I started in the center and then I put the other 2 letters, the first and the last, and then I just had to fill in the other alternate letters. So this ends up saying lovely and luscious lilac. I love some alliteration on my project whenever I can. Now, these are Hubman and Chub Girl paper clips that I got with some planner supplies that I bought. Planner supplies that focused on plant care, so reminders for watering and repotting and that sort of thing. And I really love these, and I specifically bought them for Project Life. So here I am using it. Isn't that nice? It's like a monstera leaf, I think it is. And it looks just perfect there, layered with my photo that was already in place. Spending some more time just checking out how this all looks as it comes together. I don't know why I struggle so much with fewer photos. I'm just used to pages that have photos jammed into it. And so when I have the luxury of having some space, I tend to struggle a little bit. I'm going to do some journaling on this one. It says details on it. And I also have this this little die cut piece. It says 3 things. And actually, I'm so glad that I'm documenting this. So I'm going to outline it. I did glue it on there, and it says 3 things. And I have some journaling here about how it's funny that this happens to have the word 3 things on it, because we were just talking not too long ago about how the phrase 3 things for both Scott and I makes us think about when our kids were little and how we used to, I don't know what I'm doing there, but it looks like did I already have something? It looks like I'm in ChatGPT. I don't know what on earth I am checking ChatGPT for, but what I'm writing here is still echoes from those early years when it meant a simple bedtime checklist: wash, brush, comb. So both Scott and I know what I was doing. Both Scott and I, whenever we hear the word 3 things, we always think of the fact that we used to tell our kids, go up and do your 3 things. Have you done your 3 things yet? They have to do 3 things in the morning and 3 things at night. And what I was demonstrating there on live stream is just that for when you're doing non-personal journaling, like just coming up with captions or ways to describe something, I find ChatGPT actually really helpful. It's good for language stuff, right? So if I have some journaling, I'll just say it into ChatGPT and it'll give me some options and I can say, make it shorter, make it longer, and it'll just do it instantly. And I don't have to think about putting words together. I actually enjoy the journaling process. And so it's not like I hate journaling or anything. It's just that when I'm in scrapbooking mode, I'm not necessarily in journaling mode. So I don't mind using ChatGPT for something like that. Now, if you have concerns about using ChatGPT, obviously that wouldn't be a good process for you. But for me, I use it occasionally and I find that it's kind of helpful. It doesn't break up my scrapbooking flow by making me switch back and forth between scrapbooking, which is something kind of visual and creative, and journaling, which is something more kind of logical and linear. While I was explaining all that, I put a "This is May" tag on top of a chipboard letter that says "Decluttering the Living Room" because we had accumulated a whole bunch of extra decorations and stuff that we didn't really need in there. So I just pared down everything there. I'm adding a little arrow stamp here to just say that the journaling about this is right beside it. So I've got the picture of the week in the life, and now I'm going to do the journaling about week in the life. The fact that week in the life made this spread so light in photos is actually a really good thing because I would have never journaled like my freezer or my living room necessarily. I'm using these letters from a recent Stories by the Month kit, or maybe it came in a basics kit. I can't remember which one, but I'm using it to just put the title WITL and then 2 dots for a colon. My journaling says, I documented May 18th to 24th in detail in my first ever Week in the Life album. Check it out. I'm just talking about those arrow stamps, which are amazing. I'm pretty sure they're from Paper Person and they came in a kit. I really, really love those. It's just handy to have such an assortment of arrows that are all different shapes and sizes, and they're all in one place. So if you grab it, you're pretty sure you're going to get something that's useful. Now I have these 2 photos that I plan to put together, and the card says details, and my journaling here says, our garage freezer is well stocked with frozen food from M&M, whose meals are so high quality yet convenient, worth the money. Sophie unpacked our order this time. Yeah, so M&M is I think it's only in Canada according to the people in my live stream, but it's a company that basically just makes frozen food. They also do meats. And it's not all processed food, but it's just like higher quality. You can taste the vegetables, they're crunchier. It's not like slop. I don't know, stuff that you get at the grocery store in the frozen food section is usually not very good. My journaling here says, Sophie offered me a gummy bear knowing I love sour candy. Imagine my surprise when I put one of these red hot sour gummies in my mouth. An interesting combo of flavors. So I'm putting this right beside the red hot gummy bear package. And now this spread is ready. So it is kind of interesting how this one was a little bit more challenging for me, even though there were fewer photos and fewer things to do on this page and a little bit more room to include more of the journaling, having it be visible and whatnot. You're going to see these photos in a second. But before I jump into those photos, I want to give a quick shout out to my amazing Patreon supporters, the folks who you're about to see on your screen. Truly help make this channel happen, so thanks to them. Tiaras get early ad-free access to all of my process videos, plus real-time unedited versions, often in the form of live streams, and they get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and we have an amazing Discord server that's really active, and it's a place to share your work and chat about the scrapbooking hobby and industry and any other creative endeavors that we're up to. Be sure to check out the links at the end of this video to look at my collection of process videos. I hope that you enjoyed this page, and as always, stay tuned for more scrappy inspiration. Until next time, take care and have a really great scrappy week.